Imagine waking up every day with a mind that feels like 1,000 tabs open at once, all playing different music, each pulling you in a different direction. Imagine trying to sit still in a world that demands structure, when your inner world is a storm of ideas, interruptions, and lightning-fast thoughts. This is not a lack of focus, it's a different kind of focus, one that doesn't obey the usual rules. If you've ever felt like your brain was not broken, just built differently, then you are already beginning to understand the psychology of the people who have ADHD. What you're about to hear is not just a diagnosis explaining, it's a journey into an ancient, misunderstood way of being. We are conditioned to believe that attention should be linear, that thought should be disciplined, and that productivity is the measure of intelligence. But those of us with ADHD know that the mind doesn't always cooperate with these expectations. In fact, it rebels. And in that rebellion lies a truth about human consciousness that most people fear to acknowledge, that the mind is not a machine to be programmed, but a wild field to be explored. ADHD is not a failure to pay attention, it is an abundance of attention that struggles to find a single target. As the philosopher Heraclitus once said, you cannot step into the same river twice. And for someone with ADHD, every moment is a new river. From a psychological standpoint, ADHD isn't merely a deficit, it's a trait of divergence. It's a cognitive style that challenges the mainstream, not just neurologically, but philosophically. People with ADHD often live in the friction between who they are and who the world demands they be. We ask ourselves, why can't I just do this simple task? Why do I forget the most obvious things, yet remember obscure facts from years ago? Why does my brain light up in chaos but shut down in silence? And perhaps the deepest question of all, what kind of world would we have if we stopped pathologizing difference and started honoring it? You see, ADHD isn't just about distraction. It's about hyperfocus. It's about emotional intensity. It's about a profound sensitivity to the world that others may never notice. It's about living on the edge of every moment, feeling everything, sensing shifts in energy, tone, light, and meaning. For many, this is overwhelming. For others, it is a superpower. But to unlock that power, we must first understand its design. We must go beyond labels and enter the realm of self-awareness, where philosophy meets neuroscience. Let's talk about time. For people with ADHD, time is not linear, it's emotional. It's not measured in minutes, but in moments of urgency or fascination. There is the now and the not now. Deadlines don't exist until they breathe fire. Tasks don't matter until they feel meaningful. This creates a tension between the internal world and external expectations, and it leads to a spiral of guilt, procrastination, and self-doubt. But what if time wasn't supposed to be a prison? What if our relationship to time is actually a reflection of a deeper truth about human freedom? Jean-Paul Sartre once wrote, "Man is nothing else but what he makes of himself." For those with ADHD, this quote is both terrifying and liberating, because when your mind resists structure, you are forced to invent your own. You must become an architect of your own life, not by following pre-made blueprints, but by responding to the chaos with creativity. That's why people with ADHD often thrive in crisis. They are wired for improvisation. Their brains are like jazz musicians, playing notes others can't even hear. But the world doesn't always reward improvisation. It rewards
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
This is where the philosophy becomes painful. We live in a society that praises the predictable. Schools are built on repetition. Workplaces are built on routine. But ADHD is built on novelty. It craves stimulation, discovery, and uncertainty. And when denied these things, it begins to collapse inward. It's not that we don't care. It's that we care too much, too fast about too many things. And when we fail to meet expectations, we internalize the verdict. Broken, lazy, undisciplined. But those are not diagnoses, they are misunderstandings. So what happens when you grow up with a brain that doesn't match the mold? You begin to doubt yourself. You become ashamed of your own rhythm. You start to perform for acceptance, hiding the parts of yourself that seem too much. You become a master of pretending to be neurotypical, but inside you're exhausted. And here we must ask the question, how many people are suffering not because of their condition, but because of the way the world reacts to it? In truth, ADHD is not a monolith. It manifests differently in everyone. Some people are driven, energetic, and bold. Others are quiet, dreamy, and lost in their thoughts. But all share a restless heart, a desire to go deeper, faster, further. ADHD is not about attention span, it's about attention regulation. And that regulation is governed not by willpower, but by interest, emotion, and connection. The moment something feels meaningful, the ADHD mind locks in like a missile. But when it feels meaningless, it drifts like a balloon in the wind. This is why traditional advice often fails. Just focus. Try harder. Be more disciplined. These words are like telling someone with a broken leg to run. They don't address the root. We must instead ask, what lights you up? What makes your soul come alive? Because in those moments, the ADHD mind works flawlessly. When the soul is engaged, the symptoms disappear. The so-called disorder becomes a gift. But gifts come with responsibility. To live with ADHD is to walk the line between chaos and creation. It requires radical self-awareness and even deeper self-compassion. It requires systems designed not for perfection, but for alignment. You may need timers, reminders, routines, but more importantly, you need purpose. A reason to wake up. A mission tout pour attention eto. Without it, the mind turns inward and begins to devour itself. The philosopher Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." For someone with ADHD, the tragedy is not in time wasted, but in time misunderstood. We are not lazy. We are misaligned. We are not unfocused. We are focused on the wrong things. And to correct this, we must reframe our entire approach to life, not around discipline, but around design. Design your environment to support your flow. Design your days around energy, not the clock. Design your work to stimulate, not suppress. And most of all, design your identity not around a label, but around your truth. You are not an error to be fixed. You are a frequency to be tuned. And when you are tuned, the world begins to hear your music. So let me ask you a question that may change your life. What would happen if you stopped trying to be normal and started trying to be natural? To live naturally with ADHD is to stop fighting your current and start swimming with it. But this is not a surrender to chaos. This is a deeper form of order. One that does not come from control, but from coherence. When you align with your nature, you begin to uncover your own rhythm. And in that rhythm, you find not only peace, but power. The mistake society makes is assuming that all minds should run like trains on tracks. But the ADHD mind is not a train, it's a wildfire. And wildfires, when managed with wisdom, bring renewal. This is why so many people with ADHD are highly creative, deeply intuitive, and incredibly resilient. They've been solving internal puzzles their entire lives. They've learned to survive in a world that wasn't built for them. But survival is not the same as thriving. To thrive, we must unlearn the shame. We must peel back the layers of judgment that have been placed on us by systems that misunderstood our nature. And we must begin to ask ourselves a radical question. What if I'm not broken? What if I'm just different? and that difference has value. In ancient tribes, the divergent were often seen as visionaries, seers, or guides. They were the ones who noticed what others missed. They didn't sit still because they were meant to move. They didn't obey rules because they were meant to question them. But now, in the industrial world, we call them disordered. We medicate their energy, suppress their instincts, and teach them to mask. We train them to be efficient, but not to be wise. And in doing so, we lose something sacred. The ADHD mind perceives reality with heightened sensitivity. It picks up on patterns, shifts in energy, subtle contradictions, and emotional undercurrents. This can be overwhelming, yes, but it can also be revelatory. It allows for a kind of insight that is not linear, but intuitive. A kind of logic that is not sequential, but holistic. This is why so many great thinkers, artists, and innovators may have lived with traits of ADHD. They didn't just think differently, they felt differently. And they turned that feeling into something the world had never seen before. But to get there, we must deal with the very real psychological battles that come with ADHD. The inner critic, the imposter syndrome, the constant feeling of being behind. These are not symptoms of the disorder, they are symptoms of living in resistance to oneself. They arise when we try to measure ourselves by someone else's ruler. And the antidote is not self-discipline, it is self-trust. You must learn to trust your way of processing, your unique tempo, your non-linear path. This doesn't mean avoiding responsibility. In fact, it means taking deeper responsibility, one that begins with self-knowledge. You must observe your own mind like a philosopher observes truth, with curiosity, not condemnation. What times of day are you most alert? What kinds of tasks ignite your focus? What environments support your clarity? These are not trivial questions. They are the blueprint to your liberation. And yes, there will still be challenges. Emotional dysregulation, executive dysfunction, forgetfulness, these are real. But they are not signs of failure. They are invitations to deeper design. Use external tools to support internal clarity. Use alarms, calendars, visual reminders, and goal-setting frameworks. But most importantly, use compassion. Every time you fall, speak to yourself not like a judge, but like a mentor. You are not lazy. You are learning how to be you. The philosopher Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." For someone with ADHD, this privilege is hard-earned. It means sifting through years of misunderstanding, rejection, and self-doubt. It means reclaiming your voice after a lifetime of being told to be quiet, to sit still, to behave. But when you finally do become who you truly are, something astonishing happens. You begin to lead others out of their own cages. You become a guide, a mirror, a light. Let us not forget that attention is a sacred resource. Where we place our attention shapes our reality. And people with ADHD have a unique gift, the ability to place attention in places others overlook. They see connections others miss. They feel depth others avoid. And while this can be overwhelming, it also opens the door to genius. The only question is, will you own your attention or let the world dictate where it goes? In this age of constant distraction, perhaps those with ADHD are not the disordered, but the prophets. They are a mirror to a society that has forgotten how to be present. They are a reminder that attention is not just a skill, it is a form of love. And when you learn to love the way your mind works, you begin to move through the world not with shame, but with sovereignty. So how do you begin that journey? Start by honoring your brain as it is, not as you wish it to be. Stop comparing your page 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Begin noticing the moments when you feel most alive, most clear, most in flow. These are not accidents. They are messages. Follow them. Build your life not around external validation, but internal resonance. And when the world tells you to be different, ask, different from what? From a system that values obedience over originality? From a culture that praises uniformity over uniqueness? Let them keep their rules. You were not born to follow, you were born to forge. You were not meant to be managed, you were meant to be awakened. There will be days when it still feels hard, when you forget things, when you lose track, when your emotions take over. But remember, those moments are not the end. They are the soil from which resilience grows. You are not starting from scratch, you are starting from experience. And that experience, when reflected upon with honesty, becomes wisdom.